Hey guys, Callum from Team Dragonslayer here, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about the brand new Dusknoir Dusknoir line coming out in the Shrouded Fable expansion for Pokemon TCG. So the Dusknoir here has the ability Cursed Bomb, which once during your turn, when you use this ability, you may knock this Pokemon out, and if you do, you may place 5 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. This is a really cool ability that I've never played with before in the TCG. And it sets up for some really cool combos and has some great interactions with some cards in the format. Now, the Dusknoir has the same ability as the Dusclops, except for the fact that it places 13 damage counters. Now, it is important to note that you can't spread this around the same way you can spread around a Sableye attack, where you can choose to put like 7 damage counters somewhere and then 5 somewhere else. It does all have to go on the one Pokemon. But there are still some really amazing combos and plays that we can do with this. So to get started, I thought I'd talk about a card that I expect to see some play in at least decks that are completely focused around the Dusknoir Dusknoir line rather than using it as like a supplementary piece, and that would be the Hyper Aroma. Obviously, this A-Spec is... I feel like it was a little underhyped when it came out, but people are starting to value and realize just how important the consistency of being able to grab your Stage 1 Pokemon are. So this is a really great way to find your Dusknoir super early and get them onto the board. Using something like Hyper Aroma in a Dusknoir focused deck might even allow you to pull off shenanigans such as turn 2 Roxanning your opponent. If you call first, you set up a few Duskull with like a Buddy Puffin or something. Turn 2, you use Hyper Aroma, you search for the Dusclops, you blow up at least 3 of them, and suddenly your opponent's on 3 prize cards remaining. You can Roxanne them as early as turn 2. Now, whether or not this is enough to actually win a game, it remains to be seen. However, I can imagine that if you are picking off engine pieces like Bidoofs, Bibberoos, Pidgeys, etc., or even, I don't know, Manaphy's, Greninjas, things like that, that this could get pretty overwhelming pretty quickly. And it's almost like an alternate unfair stamp sort of setup. Other cards that have really cool interactions are things like the Counter Catcher, because obviously we can blow up the Dusclops or the Dusknoir during our turn. This can put us in some positions where we force our opponent to take a prize in the middle of our turn and actually put us behind in the prize trade, allowing us to utilize Counter Catcher, which is really cool. This like frees up our supporter for turn, so if we need to use an Arven to find pieces, or we would rather Iona our opponent or something like that, this is really great for that. In a similar way, we can turn things like Reversal Energy online, and allow ourselves to summon this Luxray for free. When I was initially looking at building, I'm still working on it, but a Dusknoir Dusknoir deck, I was a little concerned about getting Ampu very much by Iron Hands for 2 prizes, but what's great is actually the 5 damage counters that the Dusknoir places and the 180 that the Luxray does actually perfectly kills an Iron Hands and puts our opponent to 3 prize cards, which means we can Roxanne them, so that's really cool. In a similar way, we've also got things like the Blood Moon Ursaluna and the Radiant Charizard, whose attacks cost 1 colorless less for each prize card our opponent's taken. So obviously by blowing up these Dusclops and Dusknoirs, we can force our opponent to take prizes while we sort of set up their board in a favorable manner for us, whether that is destroying the pieces on their board or setting up damage counters on relevant Pokemon, so we can take some clean knockouts later. And then we can just sort of cycle this Radzard and Blood Moon Ursaluna. Finally, some other synergies I've thought about are sort of the damage counter placing attackers in the format, which would come in the likes of Sableye and Dragapult EX. So obviously there's some really cool synergy going on with those guys. I'm a little bit concerned about jamming the Dusknoir Dusknoir engine into a Lost Zone deck. I don't know how consistently we're going to hit 10 to reach Sableye with that. However, nonetheless, it would be really cool if we can pull it off. And likewise, obviously, the Dragapult placing 6 damage counters alongside the Dusknoir and the Dusclops can obviously cause some devastating knockouts on board for your opponent. And finally, the card that I think might be the biggest winner from Dusclops and Dusknoir is actually Charizard EX. So, as most people are probably familiar with, Charizard's attack does 30 more damage for each prize card your opponent's taken. So suddenly... it feels like you're getting more damage counters out of the Dusclops and the Dusknoir at that point, as blowing up a Dusclops will let you place the 5 damage counters, and then your Charizard will swing for 30 more damage. So you're actually giving up a prize card for essentially plus 80 damage, which is really cool. and this can get devastating as the game goes on, obviously. So finally, I just thought I'd show you guys a little bit of like a mock Dusknoir Charizard list. Obviously, this one's only playing a 1-1-1 line, but we obviously have to consider whether or not the entire deck is focused around the Dusknoir's Dusknoir engine, or whether we're just looking to pull off some cool or interesting plays during the game that might swing it in our favor, just by being able to, cheat a counter catcher on a turn we probably shouldn't have it, or find some damage that we need. So, if you've got any ideas for Dusknoir or Dusknoir, please definitely let me know down below, or come in and see me. Let me know about it, because I'm really, really hyped for this card. Dusknoir is one of my favorite Pokemon, so I'm really, really keen to see how this shakes up the TCG and what can be done with it. So, sweet, let me know, and we'll catch you next time.